friends. Welcome to this week's M-Kids Bible Adventures.
Hello, and welcome to another session of Miracle Kids Bible Adventures. My name is Jacob Kawe, or Uncle Jacob, if you would so want to say that. Okay, so I am with three people, and they are my friends. Can you introduce yourselves, starting with?
Hi, my name's Wanzi. How are all of you doing?
Okay, next.
Hey guys, I'm Natty. Hope you guys are doing well.
Indeed. And finally,
Hi, my name is Muizu. I hope all of you are doing fine.
indeed. I hope all of you are doing fine and that you've had a great week. Welcome to another session of, as I said, Miracle Kids Bible Adventures. Are you guys excited for today's episode?
Yes!
Okay, so today we're going to talk about a guy called Amos. How many of you have heard of a guy called Amos?
Me.
Okay,
I have.
all right. Okay, so he was a shepherd, and we're going to see some of the things that he experienced. Here we go. So Amos was a shepherd who lived in Judah, in a town called Tekau. So one day, God spoke to him and showed him visions, which were like pictures in his mind. He was awake, but it was as if he was dreaming about what God was going to do to the people in countries surrounding Israel and Judah. Have any of you had a vision before?
Yes.
I think I have.
Okay. Remember, a vision is not like an imagination. In imagination, you are making it happen yourself. In a vision, it's like you're watching something that somebody else is making to happen.
Then no.
No?
Then no.
Okay.
I think yes.
Oh, cool. That's great. Was it a scary vision or a...
I can't really remember per se, but then I do remember that it wasn't scary. It was actually pretty comforting.
Okay, wonderful. So God sometimes speaks to people through visions. Let's see what these pictures were all about. So the city of Damascus would be destroyed. That was one of the visions that Amos had, that the city of Damascus would be destroyed because of the cruel way that people treated God's people in Gilead. The cities of Gaza and Tyre would be destroyed also because they sold God's people into slavery. Do you guys remember what slavery is?
Yes.
Okay. So the land of Edom would be destroyed as well because the people there wanted to get back at their own relatives in Israel for something that had happened years and years ago. So basically, they wanted to get revenge for something. So people from Ammon would be destroyed as well because they murdered helpless women and children. So the king of Moab and his people would be destroyed also because they dug up a dead king's body and burned his bones until nothing was left but ashes. So now that we've seen some of the pictures that Amos was seeing, do you think they were pleasant visions?
Not at
No.
all.
Okay, imagine seeing all these people being destroyed. It could actually scare you. Okay, let us continue. So God's people in Judah, so this is another vision. God's people in Judah and Israel would also be punished. The people of Judah didn't follow God's laws, so he would tear down the city of Jerusalem. Israel would be punished because the Israelites stole from the poor, worshipped false gods, and lived only for pleasure. What about this vision? Now, this one was about the people themselves who are God's people. Was this a pleasant vision?
No. Seems like everyone's getting punished.
Indeed. But one thing that you kind of see in all the visions is why they're getting punished. Interesting, eh?
Yes.
Okay. So God told Amos, "Go to the city of Bethel in Israel and tell them what I've said." So Amos left his flock of sheep in Judah and walked about 20 miles north to Bethel. That's a long way to walk. Do you know how long 20 miles is in kilometers?
I have no idea.
Okay.
No.
So 20 miles is about 32 kilometers.
Wow.
Yeah, so that's how long he walked. Anyway, so he walked 32 kilometers to tell people about what he had seen. So the Israelites did not like what Amos had to say, but Amos kept telling them the truth anyway. Seek God so that you may live. Hate evil, love good, and make justice rule in your city. The Israelites refused to listen. They thought their mighty army, their money, their fine houses, and their pagan gods would keep them safe. Before I continue, has anyone ever told you something you didn't want to hear?
Multiple times.
Okay,
Very
onesie.
A lot.
A lot. Do you care to share one?
Yes.
Okay.
Last time I was talking to my sister, and then when I told her that I was drinking some Fanta, she said that when you're drinking the Fanta, you should share with others, not just telling the person.
Oh, okay. You're right. That can be quite something you don't want to hear when you're enjoying a meal or a nice treat and someone is telling you to share. If you didn't plan on doing it, it can feel
It was a
bad.
small bottle.
Indeed, I've been there, onesie. Okay, let's move on for now. So God showed Amos a vision of locusts. Say locusts.
Locusts.
Do you know what a locust is?
Yes.
Grasshopper-like creatures?
Exactly, except they're 10 times worse than grasshoppers. They eat everything in their sight, including clothes.
Clothes? I thought they only eat plants.
Well, plants are used to make clothes sometimes. Yes.
Do they eat human beings?
No, they don't. Human beings is beyond their scope.
I heard that they can hurt you. They're like spiky things that they can cut you.
Perhaps if you tried to catch them or if you're caught in a swarm where they're all flying at the same time. Anyway, so God showed Amos a vision of locusts chewing up all the plants in the fields. Oh Lord, Amos pleaded, don't let this happen. Israel is too small. God changed his mind. He showed Amos fire burning the whole country. Oh Lord, Amos pleaded again. Israel is too small. No one will be able to go on living. God changed his mind and showed Amos a plumb line actually, a tool that hangs straight down to make sure a wall is being built straight and won't tumble. Yes, Wanzi.
What's a plumb line?
So a plumb line is, like I said, a tool that is used to help builders build a wall straight. It's like a
Like the place where you put your clothes?
not really. It's a thing that is used to hang straight down. So it could be like a string with something at the bottom which hangs straight down. So you use it to make sure that the wall is built straight. Exactly. Okay. So Amos was seeing these things and he was terrified. So God changed his mind and showed Amos the plumb line, which is the tool that hangs straight. And God said, a plumb line is like his law. Did the people of Israel measure up? Did they stand straight beside it? No. Judgment would come, and the people of Israel would become slaves to another land. What's the law of God?
The Ten Commandments?
Yes. But
In the Old Testament.
exactly. The Ten Commandments in the Old Testament. But there were also other things other books as well. But for us in the New Testament, it would be the Bible. So, it turns out the people of Israel did not measure up, and that's why God was planning to punish them. So Amos told the people what he had seen, but the priests of Bethel said, "Be quiet and go home." Then God showed Amos a basket of ripe fruit. He said, Israel was ripe for punishment for their sins. Because they had told Amos to be quiet, God said no one would be around to teach the word of God. The people will wander from sea to sea, seeking the word of the Lord, but they will not find it. Amos saw still another vision. This time, God was standing beside the altar, giving orders to strike Israel. I had to breathe there. Okay. And the Assyrians came, just as God had said. They destroyed Israel's army, tore down their cities, took everything they owned, and made the people into slaves. And believe it or not, that's the end of the story.
Slaves were a big thing back then.
Yes, they were. And any questions, though, before we get into some interesting facts?
No.
No.
Okay, so many amazing things happened in Bethel. It was one of the first places where Abram built an altar to worship God after he moved out of Canaan, the land where God had led him. You all remember Abraham?
Yes.
Okay, so it was also the place where Jacob, his grandson, saw angels going up and down a ladder in heaven. Do you remember that?
Yes.
Okay, he had a stone for a pillow. Okay, so let's think about our lives for a moment. So there are many laws and rules to follow. We have rules at home and at school. Cities and countries have laws. And of course, God gave us rules in the Bible. Have you ever had to tell someone that they were breaking rules?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. Mwizu, how was the moment when you had to tell someone that they were breaking rules? Was it easy for you to do? Did they react in a negative manner? Were they angry, or were they like, oh no, thank you for telling me, I'll stop doing this thing?
They said thank you, because if I didn't tell them, they would have gotten punished.
Okay, so you saved them. All right. But, Wanzi?
When my sister was throwing papers around, I told her to stop because Mom would shout at her. But she was throwing tantrums and fighting instead.
Okay. What about you yourselves? Has anyone told you you were breaking the rules?
Yes.
Yes.
All right. So, Natty, how was that when you were being told?
I do remember when I was in 7th grade, when I was the head boy at that time. At a particular day, I wasn't being like a proper head boy. So then instead, I was mostly, I don't know what was wrong with me. I think I was upset. But eventually, I did almost wind up into trouble if it wasn't for a fellow prefect of mine.
Okay. I'm glad they warned you. Yes, Wanzi.
I was jumping on the bed
Mm-hmm.
because I was so happy because it was my birthday. Then Mom told me to stop and she shouted. That's when I stopped.
Okay. All right. So that the bed doesn't get undone or even broken. Okay, so my last question for you is, why is it important to obey God's rules?
Because he knows what's best for you.
Okay. Mwizu?
He knows what will happen if you don't obey.
Okay.
He knows that if you do not obey him, you are like not obeying his rules.
Okay. So bad things happen when you don't obey God's rules, and it's not just because God is punishing, but other bad things can happen to you. So consequences of doing bad things. Like I was saying about you jumping on the bed becomes undone or the bed can break, and that's not good. So your mom shouts at you, but it is to stop that from happening. And also, as Nati said, he could have lost his position as head boy if he was found out doing whatever it is he was doing, unless there was other things at stake.
No, that was it.
That was pretty much it. Okay, so we obey God's rules because God's rules are there to help us live this life properly, and if we break them, bad things happen because we are not doing what we're supposed to do to live properly on this earth. We hurt ourselves. Now, of course, God may sometimes punish, but for the most part, we are just hurting ourselves. Yeah. Sometimes I like to imagine it as reading a manual from a manufacturer. So you've bought a nice cool toy, and the manual has all sorts of things written. Do not put this in water, do not do this, do not do that, do not plug it in when you're doing this. Those look like rules. But if you put it in water, or you do this or that, and it stops working, or it hurts you, it sounds like the manufacturer is punishing you. but he's not.
Really?
But the thing stops working and it never starts working again until you spend money or it starts working, but never the way it used to work. Okay, so we've come to the end of our Miracle Kids Bible adventures. How was today's adventure?
Nice.
It was nice.
Was
All right.
cool.
And at least it gave us an insight of why God does some of these things.
Indeed. So, if you're listening to us on the podcast, be sure to visit our Miracle Life Family Church website. There are plenty of stories, just like the one that you've heard in the Miracle Life Family Church bookshop. I think I said website the first time. But you can still find information about the bookshop on the Miracle Life Family Church website. But visit the bookshop and you'll find the book that we're reading from, and also invite your friends to come and listen to the podcast. You can send the link to them and they will be able to listen by themselves at home. Okay, so from here, what do we say?
Bye.
Okay, see you later.